Have you ever wondered why history's most powerful men were also the most magnetic? Why those who built empires, created immortal works, and transformed entire civilizations possessed an inner strength that transcended the ordinary? The answer lies in a truth that modern society has forgotten, a truth that Napoleon Hill uncovered while studying over 500 successful men. Sexual energy is the most powerful force in human nature, and when consciously transmuted, it becomes the fuel for all great achievements. But before you dismiss this idea as just another esoteric theory, consider this. You are wasting right now the purest source of creative power that exists within you. While society teaches you to seek instant gratification, while it convinces you that releasing this energy through momentary pleasure is natural and healthy, you are literally draining the reservoir of strength that could transform your life into something extraordinary. Sexual energy isn't just a biological urge, it's primordial fire, the essence of creation, the force that moves mountains and builds destinies. When a man learns to master this energy, he doesn't just control his impulses, he awakens a power that elevates him above mediocrity, that transforms him into an opportunity magnet, that makes success flow naturally in his direction. Imagine for a moment that within you there is a volcano. This volcano is your sexual energy, your life force, your creative power. Most men live by allowing this volcano to erupt with every desire, every impulse, every moment of weakness. They believe that this release relieves them, calms them, satisfies them. But what actually happens is that they are wasting precious lava, wasting the raw material that could build mountains of success. Napoleon Hill discovered that history's most successful men weren't those who denied their sexuality, but those who transmuted it. They took this volcanic energy and channeled it into the creation of wealth, the development of skills, the building of powerful relationships, the manifestation of grand visions. Ford, Edison, Rockefeller, Carnegie, they all mastered the art of sexual transmutation. They all discovered that true power lies not in release but in transformation. But we live in an era that teaches us the exact opposite. We live in a society that has turned pleasure into a commodity, that bombards us with constant sexual stimuli, that convinces us that instant gratification is a right, not a waste. We are conditioned from a young age to believe that suppressing our desires is harmful, that expressing them freely is healthy, that masturbation is normal and even beneficial. This is the great lie of modernity. This is the illusion that keeps men trapped in mediocrity. Because when you release your sexual energy through momentary pleasure, you are not just relieving yourself, you are emptying yourself. You are draining the fuel that could power your creativity, your determination, your personal magnetism, your ability to attract success. Think about it. After each release, how do you feel? Energized or drained? Motivated or apathetic? Focused or scattered? The answer is obvious but rarely admitted. There's a reason you feel empty after sexual gratification, because you literally emptied yourself. You poured down the drain the energy that could have been transformed into power, into creativity, into magnetism. Sexual energy is like electricity. It can be wasted in a short circuit, or it can be channeled to illuminate an entire city. The difference lies in consciousness, in control, in the discipline of knowing when to retain and when to transmit. Weak. Men release this energy impulsively, like animals following instincts. Powerful men retain it and consciously transform it, like alchemists transmuting lead into gold. Napoleon Hill called this the secret of secrets, because few men can understand this truth deeply enough to apply it. Most hear about sexual transmutation and think of repression, denial, suffering. But transmutation is not repression, it's transformation. It's not denying the fire, it's directing it. It's not killing the desire, it's elevating it. When you begin to retain your sexual energy, something magical happens. First, you feel a restlessness, a built-up energy that needs an outlet. This is the raw energy, the raw material of transmutation. If you don't know how to direct it, it will become anxiety, irritation, frustration. But if you learn to channel it consciously, it will transform into something far more powerful. This energy begins to rise, to refine itself, to transform. Like steam condensing into pure water, your condensed sexual energy becomes mental energy, creative energy, magnetic energy. You begin to feel a mental clarity you've never experienced before. Your ideas flow more easily. Your decisions become more certain. Your ability to concentrate multiplies. But the transformation goes beyond the mental. Your physical presence changes. You walk with more confidence, speak with more authority, look people in the eyes with more intensity. There's a contained energy in you that others can sense, even without understanding what it is. You become a human magnet, attracting opportunities, relationships, resources that once seemed unattainable. This is not mysticism. It's applied science. When you retain your sexual energy, you not only conserve physical energy, you conserve vital energy, life force, personal magnetism. This energy, when not wasted, accumulates and intensifies, creating a magnetic field around you that influences everything and everyone in your proximity. The ancients knew this. Eastern masters taught that sexual energy was the basis of all spiritual achievement. Spartan warriors practiced sexual continence before battles because they knew it increased their strength and determination. The great Renaissance artists channeled their sexual passion into their works, creating beauties that transcended generations. But today, this wisdom has been forgotten, replaced by a culture that values instant gratification over self-improvement. We're taught that pleasure is the goal, that satisfaction is the ultimate good, that denying our impulses is harmful. This is the programming that keeps us weak, that keeps us dependent, that keeps us mediocre. The truth is, every great achievement requires sacrifice. Every real transformation demands that you give up something smaller to achieve something greater. Sexual transmutation is precisely that, trading momentary pleasure for lasting power, exchanging instant gratification for extraordinary accomplishment. When you master your sexual energy, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, you earn the right to master your circumstances, your environment, your destiny. This isn't theory, it's universal law. Self-control is the foundation of all external control. Internal discipline is the prerequisite for external success. But how exactly does this transmutation work? How do you transform sexual impulse into creative power? The process is simultaneously simple and complex, physical and metaphysical, practical and spiritual. First, you must recognize that sexual energy is pure energy, neutral in its essence. It's neither good nor bad, it's simply force. Like any force, it can be destructive or constructive, depending on how it's directed. A river can destroy a city or generate power to illuminate it. The difference lies in control, in direction, in conscious channeling. When you feel the sexual impulse arise, that's the moment of choice. You can follow it blindly like an animal, releasing the energy and returning to your previous state. Or you can consciously intercept it, recognize it as pure energy, and direct it toward a higher purpose. This redirection doesn't happen only in the mind, it happens throughout your entire being. When you retain sexual energy, it literally changes direction in your body. Instead of descending to the genitals, it rises to the brain, to the heart, to the endocrine glands. This ascending energy intensifies your mental capabilities, awakens your creativity, increases your personal magnetism. Napoleon Hill discovered that history's most creative men experienced their moments of greatest inspiration when their sexual energy was at its peak, but directed toward creative purposes instead of physical gratification. They learned to transform sexual passion into creative passion, physical desire into a desire for achievement, carnal excitement into mental excitement. But this transformation isn't automatic. It requires discipline, awareness, constant practice. You need to develop the ability to feel sexual energy arise and consciously redirect it before it becomes compulsion. This requires you to develop a more conscious relationship with your impulses, to learn to observe them instead of being controlled by them. Imagine you're a conductor and your sexual energy is an orchestra. If you don't conduct the orchestra, it produces cacophony. But if you consciously direct it, it creates symphonies. Resisting this isn't just a matter of willpower. It's a matter of clarity of purpose. You need to know exactly why you're doing this, what you hope to achieve, what kind of man you're trying to become. When you have this clarity, when you truly understand the power of sexual transmutation, resisting impulses becomes easier. Not because the impulses disappear, but because you have something greater to strive for. You have a vision of yourself that is more powerful than any momentary temptation. Think of history's greatest men, not just the rich and famous, but the truly great ones, those who left a lasting legacy. They weren't men who indulged in easy pleasures. They were men who knew how to sacrifice momentary pleasure for lasting achievement. They were men who mastered their impulses so they could master their circumstances. Da Vinci channeled his sexual passion into his artwork. Tesla redirected his sexual energy into his inventions. Gandhi transformed his sexual energy into spiritual strength. They all discovered that true power lies not in release, but in transmutation. But don't think this is easy. The journey of sexual transmutation is one of the most challenging a man can undertake. You'll be going against millions of years of evolutionary programming, against decades of social conditioning, against an entire culture that encourages you to do the exact opposite. There will be times when you'll question whether it's worth it. There will be times when the temptation will be almost irresistible. There will be times when you'll give in and feel like you've lost all your progress. But these moments are part of the journey, not the end of it. Every time you rise after a fall, you become stronger. Every time you resist an urge, you develop more power. Sexual transmutation isn't a single event. It's an ongoing process. It's a discipline you practice every day, in every moment of temptation, in every choice between momentary pleasure and lasting power. It's a journey of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-realization. And the results are extraordinary. Men who master their sexual energy report energy levels they never thought possible. They speak of mental clarity bordering on telepathy, of creativity flowing like a river, of personal magnetism that attracts opportunities like a magnet attracts iron. They describe an inner sense of power that manifests in every aspect of their lives, but perhaps most important is the feeling of freedom. When you are no longer a slave to your impulses, when you can feel a desire and consciously choose how to respond to it, you experience a freedom that few men know. You become master of yourself, captain of your own soul, architect of your own destiny. This freedom manifests in your professional life. You make clearer decisions, negotiate with more confidence, lead with more authority. Your transmuted sexual energy becomes charisma, magnetism, presence. People are drawn to you without knowing why. Opportunities arise seemingly out of nowhere. Success seems to flow naturally in your direction. This freedom manifests in your relationships. When you're not driven by sexual impulses, you can form deeper and more meaningful connections. You choose partners based on genuine compatibility, not just physical attraction. You become more selective, more conscious, more present in your interactions. This freedom manifests in your health. Retained and transmuted sexual energy strengthens your immune system, increases your vitality, intensifies your physical strength. You feel younger, more vigorous, more energized. Your body becomes a more efficient vehicle for your consciousness. But perhaps the most profound way this freedom manifests is in your spiritual life. When you transmute your sexual energy, you don't just conserve physical energy. You awaken spiritual energy. You begin to experience states of consciousness that transcend the ordinary. You develop intuition, clairvoyance, connection with higher dimensions of existence. This isn't fantasy. It's a reality experienced by all who seriously walk the path of sexual transmutation. Sexual energy is the basis of Kundalini energy, life force, spiritual energy. When you learn to consciously master and direct it, you awaken powers that have been dormant within you since birth. Napoleon Hill was aware of this spiritual dimension of sexual transmutation, though he rarely discussed it openly. He knew that the true power successful men demonstrated wasn't merely material, it was spiritual. It was the ability to connect with higher forces, to receive inspiration from higher dimensions, to manifest in physical reality visions that originated in more subtle planes. This is true alchemy, transforming physical energy into spiritual energy, transforming animal desire into divine aspiration, transforming primal impulse into higher inspiration. When you master this art, you become capable of accomplishing things others consider impossible. But to reach this level of mastery, you need to start where you are. You need to start with the basics, recognizing that your sexual energy is too precious to be wasted. You need to start seeing each impulse as an opportunity for choice, each temptation as a chance to strengthen yourself, each moment of desire as an opportunity for transcendence. This means you need to develop a new relationship with your impulses. Instead of fearing or denying them, you learn to observe them, study them, understand them. You discover that behind every sexual impulse is a deeper energy, a force that can be directed toward higher purposes. This means you need to create new habits, new routines, new ways to channel your energy. When sexual energy builds up and needs an outlet, you direct it toward intense physical exercise, artistic creation, deep meditation, focused mental work. You learn to transform sexual arousal into creative arousal. This means you need to surround yourself with influences that support your journey. You avoid content that stimulates unnecessary sexual impulses. You seek the company of people who understand and support your discipline. You create an environment that facilitates transmutation instead of hindering it. And this means you need to be patient with yourself. Sexual transmutation is an art that is perfected over time. You won't become a master overnight. There will be mistakes, relapses, moments of weakness. But each attempt makes you stronger. Each failure teaches something valuable. Each small victory builds toward the greater victory. The journey of sexual transmutation is a journey of self-mastery. It's the process of becoming master of yourself, of taking conscious control of the most powerful forces operating within you. It's the difference between being driven by your impulses and consciously directing them. When you conquer your sexual energy, you conquer the power to conquer anything. Because if you can master the most primal and powerful force within you, what other force can master you? If you can transform animal impulse into divine inspiration, what transformation is beyond your capacity? That's the promise of sexual transmutation. Not just conserving energy, but transforming it into power. Not just controlling impulses, but directing them toward the creation of an extraordinary life. Not just resisting temptation, but using the energy of temptation to build something magnificent. The men who discovered this secret became legends. They didn't just achieve material success, they transcended the ordinary limitations of human existence. They became forces of nature, creators of realities, architects of destinies. You have that same capacity. Within you resides the same energy that built empires, created masterpieces, and revolutionized civilizations. The only difference between you and history's great men is that they learned to harness and transmute this energy, while most continue to squander it. But today, in this moment, you have the opportunity to make a different choice. You can continue living as most do, releasing your sexual energy impulsively and remaining in mediocrity. Or you can choose to embark on the most challenging and rewarding journey of your life. The journey of transforming yourself from a slave to your impulses into the master of your destiny. This choice isn't made just once. It's made every day, every moment of temptation, every opportunity for growth. It's the choice between fleeting pleasure and lasting power, between instant gratification and extraordinary achievement, between being ordinary and being legendary. The energy that surges within you when you're attracted to someone, when you feel excited, when you feel the urge to release sexual tension, this energy is the raw material of greatness. It's the fuel that can propel you to heights you never thought possible, but only if you learn to recognize it, honor it, and consciously direct it. Imagine you have access to a fuel that can power any dream, any ambition, any vision you have for your life. Imagine this fuel is free, unlimited, renewable, and available to you every day. Imagine the only thing you need to do to access it is to learn to recognize and consciously use it. That fuel is your sexual energy. This is the discovery that changed the life of Napoleon Hill and all the men he studied. This is the truth that can change your life too. if you have the courage to embrace it and the discipline to apply it. But applying this truth requires more than intellectual knowledge. It requires a complete transformation of your relationship with pleasure, with desire, with gratification. It requires you to develop a new form of masculinity, based not on the release of impulses, but on the conscious transformation of energy. This new masculinity isn't about repression or denial. It's about refinement, elevation, transmutation. It's about taking what is animal within you and transforming it into something divine. It's about using the most primal force to create the most sophisticated achievements. The man who masters his sexual energy becomes a magnet for opportunities, because he carries within him a force that others can sense but cannot name. He becomes more creative because his transmuted sexual energy becomes creative energy. He becomes more confident because he has developed self-control. He becomes more magnetic because he has conserved and intensified his life force. But this transformation doesn't happen without resistance. Your mind, conditioned by years of instant gratification, will resist. Your culture, based on the consumption of pleasure, will discourage you. Your friends, perhaps unconsciously, will try to sabotage you. But if you persist, if you remain steadfast in your purpose, if you continue choosing lasting power over fleeting pleasure, you will discover a force within yourself that will transform everything in your life. This force will manifest first as intensified mental energy. You will discover that you can focus for longer periods, that your ideas flow more easily, that your problem-solving ability multiplies. Your mind will become a sharper, more efficient, more powerful tool. This force will manifest as increased personal magnetism. People will be drawn to your presence. You will find doors opening that were previously closed. Opportunities will arise as if by magic. It's not magic, it's the power of transmuted sexual energy creating a magnetic field around you. This force will manifest as improved physical health. Your vitality will increase. Your energy will become more constant. Your body will become stronger, more resilient, more radiant. Retained and transmuted sexual energy rejuvenates every cell of your body. This force will manifest as spiritual power. You will begin to experience heightened states of consciousness. Your intuition will become sharper. Your connection with higher dimensions will deepen. You will discover that you have access to sources of wisdom and power that transcend the physical. But perhaps most importantly, this force will manifest as personal freedom. When you are no longer a slave to your impulses, when you can consciously choose how to respond to every desire, you experience a freedom that is the foundation of all other freedoms. You become free to create the life you truly desire. Free to become the man you truly are. This freedom is true success. It's not just about money or fame or recognition. It's about the ability to be the master of yourself, to live according to your highest vision, to express your fullest potential. It's about the ability to transform dreams into reality through the conscious application of directed energy. Napoleon Hill understood that success is not an accident. It's the natural result of consistently applied principles, and the most powerful of all principles is the transmutation of sexual energy. When you master this principle, you master the master key that unlocks all other doors. But mastering this principle requires that you first master yourself. It requires that you develop the discipline to observe your impulses without being controlled by them. It requires that you cultivate the awareness to recognize sexual energy as pure energy that can be directed to any purpose. It requires that you have the courage to be different, to go against the current, to choose the difficult over the easy. This isn't for everyone. Most men will continue to choose fleeting pleasure over lasting power. Most will continue to be driven by impulses, instead of consciously directing them. Most will continue to squander the energy that could transform their lives. And that's okay. The world needs ordinary people too. But if you're different, if you have higher aspirations, if you refuse to accept mediocrity as your fate, then you should seriously consider the path of sexual transmutation. Not because it's easy, but because it's effective. Not because it's popular, but because it works. Not because everyone's doing it, but because few have the courage to. The journey begins with a decision. The decision that you will no longer allow fleeting impulses to determine your destiny. The decision that you will use every available ounce of energy to create the life you truly desire. The decision that you will become master of yourself, no matter the cost. This decision must be renewed every day, at every moment of temptation, at every opportunity for growth. It's not a decision you make once and then forget. It's a commitment you constantly renew, a discipline you continuously practice, an art you perfect throughout your life. And each time you choose to transmit instead of release, you become stronger. Each time you direct your sexual energy toward a higher purpose, you develop more power. Each time you resist a fleeting impulse in favor of a lasting goal, you strengthen your ability to transform any area of your life. Because the power to transmit sexual energy is the power to transmit any energy. It's the power to take what is base and transform it into something elevated. It's the power to use brute force to create refined beauty. It's the power to take primal urges and direct them toward divine purposes. When you develop this power, you discover you can apply it to any aspect of your life. You can transmute anger into determination, fear into caution, laziness into mindful rest, anxiety into creative energy. You become an alchemist of the human experience, capable of transforming any energy into any other energy that best serves your purposes. That's true mastery, not the ability to avoid challenges, but the ability to transform them into opportunities. Not the ability to avoid difficult energies, but the ability to transmute them into useful energies. Not the ability to live without problems, but the ability to use problems as fuel for growth. And it all starts with the transmutation of sexual energy. Because if you can master the most powerful energy within you, you can master any energy. If you can transform sexual impulse into creative power, you can transform any impulse into any power you need. That's the promise of sexual transmutation. Not just a better life, but a transformed life. Not just more success, but a complete redefinition of what success means to you. Not just more power, but the power to intentionally create the reality you desire to experience. The man who masters his sexual energy isn't just successful, he's free. Free from the compulsions that enslave other men. Free from the limitations that seem insurmountable to those who don't know this secret. Free to be, do, and have all that is aligned with his highest vision of himself. This freedom isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for any man who refuses to accept mediocrity as his only option. It's the prerequisite for any truly extraordinary life. It's the foundation upon which all other achievements are built. So, the question isn't whether you should explore sexual transmutation. The question is, do you have the courage to be different? Do you have the discipline to choose the difficult over the easy? Do you have the vision to see beyond immediate gratification? Do you have the determination to persevere when others give up? If the answer is yes, then you're ready to embark on the most transformative journey of your life. A journey that will not only change what you achieve, but transform who you are. A journey that will not only improve your life, but completely redefine your potential as a human being. Because when you master your sexual energy, you're not just conserving physical energy, you're awakening the sleeping God within you. You're activating capacities that most men will never know they possess. You're accessing a power that transcends the ordinary limitations of human experience. This power isn't theoretical, it's practical. It manifests in your ability to work for hours without fatigue, to focus with laser intensity, to create solutions to problems that confound others. It manifests in your ability to influence people, to attract opportunities, to transform visions into tangible realities. But most importantly, it manifests in your relationship with yourself. When you are no longer a slave to impulses, when you can observe desires arising and consciously choose how to respond, you experience a sense of personal power that is indescribable. You become the captain of your own soul, the master of your own destiny. This inner mastery reflects in your outer mastery. Men who master their sexual energy naturally assume positions of leadership. They exude an authority that doesn't need to be proclaimed. It's simply felt by everyone around them. They possess a presence that commands respect, an energy that inspires confidence, a magnetism that attracts success. But perhaps the most profound aspect of sexual transmutation is how it transforms your relationship with the very concept of masculinity. Modern society teaches us that masculinity is about external domination, dominating others, dominating situations, dominating environments. But true masculinity is about internal domination, dominating yourself, your impulses, your reactions. The truly masculine man isn't the one who releases his sexual energy impulsively. He's the one who conserves, refines, and consciously directs it. He's not the one who is driven by desires, but the one who directs desires. He's not the one who seeks external gratification, but the one who finds satisfaction in inner mastery. This new definition of masculinity is aligned with the highest principles of nature. Observe any high-performance natural system. A tree that grows tall and strong conserves its sap until the right moment for flowering. A river with true power doesn't waste its energy in multiple directions, but focuses its flow. A fire that burns with maximum intensity doesn't spread indiscriminately, but focuses its energy on a specific point. Similarly, the man who wants to reach his maximum potential must learn to conserve and focus his most powerful energy. He must learn that energy dispersion results in dispersed results, while energy concentration results in concentrated power. This requires a fundamental shift in perspective. You must stop seeing your sexual energy as something that needs to be released and start seeing it as something that needs to be cultivated. You must stop seeing sexual urges as demands that must be met and start seeing them as opportunities that can be harnessed. Every time you feel sexual energy arise, you have a choice: waste it in momentary gratification or invest it in lasting power. This choice, consistently repeated over time, determines whether you will live an ordinary or an extraordinary life. Most men choose waste because it's easier, more immediate, and more socially acceptable. But the few who choose investment discover a power that transforms not only their lives but their very identities. They discover they are capable of far more than they ever imagined. This discovery doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process of awakening, of recognition, of integration. First, you experience occasional bursts of energy and mental clarity. Then these periods become more frequent and longer lasting. Eventually, you develop the ability to access this heightened state of power whenever needed. But the process requires patience, persistence, and an unwavering faith in your own potential. There will be moments when you doubt if it's worth it, moments when temptation seems irresistible, moments when you question whether you're being too extreme. These are the moments that separate ordinary men from extraordinary ones. Ordinary men succumb to doubt, temptation, and questioning. They revert to old patterns, easy habits, choices that don't require discipline, and they continue living ordinary lives, wondering why success seems so hard to achieve. Extraordinary men use these moments as opportunities for strengthening. Each time they resist temptation, they become stronger. Each time they choose the difficult over the easy, they develop more character. Each time they persist when others give up, they get closer to their true potential. And eventually, something magical happens. The discipline that once seemed difficult becomes natural. What once required conscious effort becomes automatic. The power that was once occasional becomes constant. You don't just practice sexual transmutation, you become a sexual transmuter. It becomes part of who you are, not just something you do. At this point, you will discover that you have developed not only control over your sexual energy, but control over all energies in your life. You can transmute anger into motivation, fear into caution, sadness into wisdom, anxiety into creativity. You become an emotional alchemist, able to transform any experience into something useful for your growth. This ability to transmute extends beyond the personal to the professional. You discover you can take any challenging situation and find hidden opportunities within it. You can transform obstacles into springboards, problems into solutions, crises into catalysts for growth. In the business world, this ability is invaluable. While others see only problems, you see possibilities. While others feel defeated by challenges, you feel energized by them. While others waste energy on complaints and worries, you channel all available energy into creating solutions. This difference in approach quickly becomes apparent to others. You stand out not only for your results, but for your attitude. People want to work with you, want to be around you, want to learn from you. You become a magnet for opportunities, not because you seek attention, but because your transformed energy naturally attracts success. But the deepest aspect of this transformation is spiritual. When you consistently transmute your sexual energy, you don't just improve your material life. You awaken dimensions of consciousness that normally remain dormant. You develop intuitive capacities, connect with higher sources of wisdom, experience, states of consciousness that transcend the ordinary. This is not vague mysticism, it's direct experience. Men who practice sexual transmutation report insights that seem to come from nowhere, solutions that arise in moments of stillness, connections that transcend ordinary logic. They discover they have access to an intelligence that operates beyond the mental, a wisdom that transcends the intellectual. This spiritual dimension of sexual transmutation was well known to ancient traditions. Yogis spoke of Kundalini, sexual energy transformed into spiritual energy. Taoists taught about cultivating Jing, sexual essence refined into life force. Alchemists sought the philosopher's stone, the ability to transmute any energy into any other. All these systems recognized that sexual energy is the basis of all high human achievement, that when this energy is wasted, human potential remains limited. But when it is consciously conserved and transmuted, it opens portals to dimensions of experience that completely redefine what it means to be human. Napoleon Hill intuited this truth when studying extraordinarily successful men. He realized that they all possessed something beyond common techniques or strategies. They possessed an energy, a life force, a magnetism that seemed to emanate from a deeper source. And when he investigated this source, he discovered sexual transmutation, but Hill also realized that this truth could not be openly taught to most people. It was too radical, too challenging, too counterintuitive to be accepted by the masses. So he hid it within layers of other teachings, hoping that those with the vision to see and the courage to apply would discover this hidden gem. Today, you have the opportunity to discover this jewel, not through theoretical studies or philosophical speculation, but through practical application and direct experience. You can test this truth in your own life, experience this power in your own experience, validate this wisdom through your own results. But application requires more than casual interest. It requires total commitment, consistent discipline, unwavering faith in your own potential. It requires you to be willing to be different, to go against the grain, to choose the extraordinary over the ordinary. The journey won't be easy. You will face resistance from your own mind, conditioned by years of instant gratification. You will face misunderstanding from others, who may see your discipline as extremism. You will face constant temptations from a culture that sexualizes everything and encourages the release of impulses. But if you persevere, if you remain steadfast in your commitment, if you continue choosing transformation over indulgence, you will discover a power within yourself that will transform everything in your life. You will discover you are capable of achievements that once seemed impossible, of creativity that once seemed unattainable, of success that once seemed reserved for others. And more importantly, you will discover you are capable of becoming the man you always knew you could be, but never had the roadmap to get there. Sexual transmutation is that roadmap. It's the path that leads from mediocrity to mastery, from limitation to liberation, from the ordinary to the extraordinary. The time to begin is now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when circumstances are more favorable. Now, because every moment of delay is a moment of wasted energy. Every day of procrastination is a day of unrealized potential. Start simple. The next time you feel a sexual urge, pause, breathe. Acknowledge the energy that's arising and consciously choose to direct it towards something higher. It could be a creative project, it could be physical exercise, it could be meditation, it could be focused work. The important thing isn't where you direct it, but that you consciously direct it instead of impulsively releasing it. This simple choice, repeated consistently, will initiate a transformation that will exceed your most optimistic expectations. Because you won't just be changing a habit, you will be awakening a power. You won't just be improving one aspect of your life, you will be transforming your own identity. And when that transformation is complete, when you become the man you always had the potential to be, you will look back and see that it all started with a simple choice. The choice to transform lust into power, impulse into purpose, sexual energy into creative energy. This is the supreme alchemy. This is the ultimate transmutation. This is the journey of an ordinary man to an extraordinary man. And it all begins with your next impulse, your next choice, your next opportunity to choose power over pleasure. The fire is within you. The energy is available. The power is waiting. The only question that remains is, will you have the courage to ignite it? Fade to black. True strength isn't about dominating others, but mastering yourself. True power isn't about impulsive release, but conscious transformation. True success isn't about fleeting pleasure, but lasting fulfillment. Within you burns a volcano of creative energy, waiting to be consciously channeled. Within you flows a river of life force, waiting to be directed towards higher purposes. Within you flickers a fire of passion, waiting to be transformed into a light that illuminates not only your life, but the lives of all around you. The choice is yours. The power is yours. The time is now. From base desires to empowered action. That's the journey. From wasted energy to transmuted energy, that's the transformation. From ordinary man to extraordinary man, that's the destiny awaiting you. Accept the challenge. Embrace the journey. Become the man you were born to be.